There is a certain West African leader that I talked about in the past that we need to pray for, especially in terms of his salvation. It's a man who has got a legal background. It's a man with a legal background. I'm trying to help intercessors in West Africa there. Because if I say that, there are so many former leaders to pray for in West Africa there. The initials of this former leader are JK, AK. JK, AK. We need to pray for his spiritual life, his salvation. I know nominally he may be going to some church, but according to what I've seen in a vision, I've seen this man in a journey in the western direction. The western direction symbolizes the end of life. The eastern direction symbolizes the beginning of life, because the sun rises from the east and it sets west. When you hear me saying in a vision, I saw someone walk in the western direction, I'm talking about death, or the end of life, or the end of someone's earthly course. So I saw this person walk, and as the sun was setting, he continued to walking. I could see his form walking in the western direction into darkness. I'm asking the Spirit of God because I've seen the vision several times. The Spirit of God says the reason why when in the past you saw others who were walking in the western direction into light, in the case of this one, you are seeing him walking into darkness, into a real sunset and the darkness of night of his life. It's because though he professes to be a Christian, he doesn't have the salvation experience, which will cause him to be found in the Lamb's book of life. So the man that I'm talking about, it belongs to a secret society. It's not really a secret society, but it's a diabolical organization which has got all sorts of Antichrist rituals that go on in that organization. He's a prominent member of that organization. His days are getting nearer and nearer. We need to pray for his salvation. The best decision that he can make at this time as I'm talking is to be born again. He's old. He's old. His initials once more are JK, AK. JK, AK. And then the other man that I saw, this one, I saw him also walking in the western direction. But where I saw him walking to, I saw a lot of light. I saw a lot of light. He's also a former leader. The clue, because I give the clue according to the instruction of the Spirit of God, the clue is that he is identified by a title which is normally reserved in most parts of the world for traditional leaders. That's the clue. And one of his names starts with the letter O. He's a former leader. The clue which God has allowed me to give, because I'm not allowed by court to mention people's names, especially for messages like this. The clue is that one of his titles, he's got many titles. One of his titles is a title which in most parts of the world, especially in Africa, is associated with the traditional leaders. It's a title associated with what? Traditional leaders. And one of his names starts with the letter O. He's also a former leader of a West African country, which is different from the country of the first leader that I talked about. This one now, what is the prayer item? The prayer item is twofold. First, we must pray that he holds on to the eternal salvation and his personal relationship with Christ. I saw him in a vision in the recent past, kneeling somewhere in his house, a very big mansion. And he was kneeling, praying before God, praying for his nation, the problems in his nation. His nation has got a lot of violence which is going on. Praying for God, for the body of Christ, because Christians are being attacked in that country. Praying for many things, church leaders and their families. I didn't know that he is also an intercessor. I thought he was just a former leader. But God was showing me, he is one of you. He's also an intercessor. Not during his spare time, he's now retired. He does intercession. He prays for even current leaders in the country, for even future things in his country, like the elections which are coming in his country. So I saw him kneeling, and a lot of light appeared. And he was praying with boldness, with vehemence, with assured expectation that God is going to answer. He didn't know that the presence of God in the form of light was in front of him, that he was literally in the atmosphere of the glory of God. And then when he was sleeping on his bed, God was showing him the things that he must do. So you must pray that in the days that are left, that God has given him on this side of eternity. Because death is not the end of it all. It's the beginning of eternity. I want us to say death is not the end of it all. It is the beginning of eternity. The question is, how will you begin eternity? Will you begin eternity far away from the presence of God, in the lake of fire, or in the presence of God in paradise? It depends on how you live your life on this side of eternity. So the man that I'm talking about, whilst he is not a perfect man, he's a former leader, a humble former leader. He is now living his final days for Christ. There is a foundation. We need to pray for his foundation to have a lot of financing, for his foundation to have people with capacity who will carry forward his legacy and his dream of establishing a fair society, a society which takes care of people who don't have power, who are downtrodden. And more importantly, we must pray for his legacy of being a leader who is a Christian to go on, and for God to raise other Christian leaders in his nation. If God allows me to speak more on this last leader in the near future, I'm going to speak more. I mean last leader in terms of how I mentioned them.